Good morning. Is it morning? We've been voting in the House of Commons long hours because we firmly believe, I would hope across party lines, that when we hear that there's more to hear on the SNC-Lavalin case, that it's important. I'm going to speak as a woman right now. I find it really difficult to watch as two strong female colleagues continue to be shut down when I watch their male colleagues putting words in their mouth. And to me, you know, outside of the issue of obstruction of justice, outside of all of these things, if we're going to be serious about reforming Parliament and making women's voices matter, what's happening here really counts. In the House of Commons, I just raised a question of privilege related to the ability of two of my colleagues to vote on the business of supply. What does that mean? Right now, the votes that are happening in the House of Commons relate to expenditures, the use of taxpayer funds. They're actually important votes. And earlier this evening, during this marathon session, I saw a story reported by the Canadian Press by Joan Bryden that two of the members of the Liberal caucus, specifically Ms. Philpott and Ms. Wilson-Raybould, were essentially told or suggested that they shouldn't be in these votes because of the pressure that they might face by sleep-deprived colleagues. Then I read an interview this morning from Ms. Philpott to Paul Wells in Maclean's magazine. And in that, I heard that essentially she was saying she was facing a culture of intimidation. Everything else aside, we need to get to the bottom of the SNC-Lavalin scandal. How can we be serious about making Parliament Hill a place for women to work if these are the sorts of stories that Canadian women see coming out of us if no action is taken? I believe that the Speaker, I was just shut down in the House of Commons, needs to look at this issue, because if they actually were prevented from voting, then look, that should be addressed. In the House of Commons, I can't say if a member is there or not. They're not here today. And all I can surmise is if they have been put under a gag order by this Prime Minister, again, even yesterday, the Prime Minister voting against a motion to bring or to lift the gag order on Jody Wilson-Raybould. I read this Paul Wells article about this culture of intimidation. I mean, we have to address this. Parliament has to address this. And if the Speaker of the House of Commons, if the Prime Minister is not going to address this, then Canadians need to address this. Because regardless of how you vote, Canadians need to be concerned about the erosion of Parliament, and they really need to be concerned about whether or not members of Parliament have the ability to vote on behalf of their constituents. These members represent tens of thousands of constituents. If they're under a gag order right now, you know, the Speaker just stood up in the House and said, well, I expect them to speak. Well, the Prime Minister has gone to great lengths to make sure that they can speak. So it's incumbent upon us and upon all Canadians to make sure that they have that right. Otherwise, I'm not sure what happens with our democracy. I'm tired, but I'm going to get back in there and keep voting because this is an issue that's worth fighting for. Thank you.
How's the gag order if Jane Philpott is speaking to reporters openly?
Well, again, she said in that article that there was more of a story to tell. She said that there's more to be told on the SNC-Lavalin matter, and she doesn't feel comfortable that she has the venue to speak. It is incumbent upon me as a parliamentarian and a colleague, even one of a different political stripe, to give her that opportunity. And so absolutely there was a gag order. That article was all about detailing the gag order, and it's frankly why we're in there voting around the clock, to show Canadians that we're serious about upholding the sanctity of Parliament.
So what are the avenues open to you? If the Ethics Committee, for example, is dominated by the Liberals. If they vote this down, where do you take this?
All we can do as parliamentarians is use every tool that is possible. Our leader, Andrew Scheer, has said that the Conservative Party of Canada will do that. And you know what? I'm going to give credit to the NDP as well for sitting with us and standing and voting to make sure that this happens. But at this point, too, I think my hope is that Canadians wake up to what's happening here. I think a lot of Canadians see this, and again, they're looking across, like, look, this isn't a Conservative issue, this isn't an NDP issue, this isn't a Liberal issue. Canadians need to really speak out against what's happening here. The shutdown of the Justice Committee, you talked about the use of the Liberal majority. Canadians need to be outraged by that. So what do we need to do? We'll keep fighting, but we hope that Canadians join us in this cause and raise their voices against this.
Monsieur Ryan, en français, pour vous entendre, comment vous réagissez à cet article avec ces informations de Jane Philpott qui en aurait plus à dire?
Oui, bien, je pense qu'aujourd'hui, s'il y avait encore des Canadiens et Canadiennes ou des personnes qui doutaient du travail qui se faisait ici au Parlement par le Parti conservateur pour avoir toute la lumière dans ce dossier-là d'ingérence dans notre système de justice, dans un dossier criminel de la part du premier ministre et de son entourage, je pense qu'avec l'article qui est sorti du McLean ce matin, il y a encore beaucoup de questions. Si le premier ministre n'a rien à se reprocher, qu'il permette à l'ancienne procureure générale et ministre de la Justice et à l'ancienne présidente du Conseil du Trésor de venir parler avec toute la liberté de pouvoir donner toute leur version et avec les informations qu'on a suite au témoignage de Mme Philpott ce matin à l'intérieur du texte. Je pense qu'on a les Canadiens et Canadiennes, je devrais dire, même pas nécessairement les partis d'opposition, mais les Canadiens et Canadiennes ont le droit de savoir toute la vérité dans ce dossier-là. Et vous pouvez être assuré que le Parti conservateur ne lâchera pas le morceau dans le dossier.
Ça veut dire quoi, ça? Utiliser quels outils?
On va utiliser tous les outils. Vous savez, en ce moment, on attend encore la réponse de la GRC par rapport à la demande qui a été faite. On a fait la demande hier au comité de l'éthique de permettre que le premier ministre ait témoigné toutes les personnes dans le comité. On va continuer notre travail au niveau des votes aujourd'hui. Et je pense qu'à regarder ces députés libéraux qui restent ici à voter pendant toute la nuit, qui auraient la possibilité de faire arrêter ce marathon de vote, tout simplement en permettant à ces intervenants de pouvoir s'exprimer librement, je pense que c'est le minimum que l'on demande et on s'attend à une réponse positive de la part du gouvernement.
Mr. Raybould, do you think there's other ways that Ms. Wilson-Raybould and Ms. Philpott could tell their story, a news conference?
Well, but the question of privilege and that being waived is at the heart of what we're talking about today. Ms. Philpott has just said she doesn't feel like she has the authority or the ability to speak because the Prime Minister won't waive that, and Ms. Raybould has said the same thing. This is the reason why Conservatives have been raising these motions in the House to get the Prime Minister to waive this. I find it ludicrous that the Prime Minister thinks it's okay to allow two men to speak for two women. How can you, it's he said. There's no he said, she said. It's ludicrous. So, you know.
Speaking to the two women, sorry.
I'll say one more thing too, just about the matter of voting. This is really serious. I mean, I might not agree with the policy positions that these women have taken, but I know them to be conscientious legislators. I can't see, this is very out of character. I mean, I watched Jody Wilson-Raybould sit in the House through votes, difficult votes, you know, facing the pressure from her colleagues on previous matters. I don't know what's happening here, and it really concerns me. I can't believe we're at this point.
You called the Prime Minister a fake feminist yesterday. Could you explain why this is an issue of feminism, and why do you think it would be different if the former Attorney General and the former Treasury Board President were men?
There's absolutely a gender issue here, and it's because of the issue of hypocrisy. You know, this Prime Minister has stood up and he's dined out on feminism. He's gone to town, right? He's a feminist. But then when the rubber hits the road, when a woman has a story to tell, what happens? Gerald Butts gets to speak. Michael Wernick gets to speak. And he voted against letting her tell her story. What kind of a feminist is that? That's nothing. You know, we can all have differences in opinion on policy to get to gender equality, to remove barriers of equality of opportunity, but we can't be hypocrites. And that's exactly what this Prime Minister is doing. And any Canadian woman, regardless of stripe, should be outraged with what is happening to these women. It's disgusting.
Mr. Trump, what do you make of the criticism that would be that this is something brought in by the Conservatives, the Liberals clearly aren't bending that what's happening
come on.
overnight?
This is an issue that all Canadians should be concerned about. You know, democracy doesn't die in a fiery explosion. It happens when there's apathy and people stop caring about the slow drip away from our democratic institutions. We have serious allegations of obstruction of justice and political interference in our judiciary to the point where an international organization, the OECD, has raised concerns. We've had our Justice Committee, the only public inquiry into this, shut down. We've had instance after instance, motion after motion, where the Prime Minister has used the Liberal majority to shut down an inquiry on this. This is crazy. Like, what is happening here, the reason why we are up all night is to say, look, Canadians need to care about this. They need to hold the Prime Minister to account. And at this point in time, we're going to put the heat on here, but Canadians need to hold him to account too, even if they voted Liberal. Because this is not the real change anybody hoped for.
Is there anything else out of any votes in the House?
Sorry, go ahead.
Qu'est-ce que ça vous dit, ces propos de Mme Philpott, venant d'une femme qui se dit libérale?
Honnêtement, c'est troublant ce que l'on entend, ce que l'on a lu ce matin dans le Maclean. On ne comprend pas présentement pourquoi le Premier ministre ne permet pas à ces deux femmes de pouvoir s'exprimer librement, de donner toute leur version. Mme Philpott dit clairement que le travail que l'on fait est mérité. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes ont le droit d'avoir toute la vérité présentement dans ce dossier-là. Et le gouvernement prend toutes les mesures pour étouffer, camoufler ce scandale-là présentement. Donc, on veut avoir les réponses. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes veulent avoir les réponses. On doit savoir pourquoi le premier ministre a fait de l'ingérence dans ce dossier de la justice.
Ce serait différent si elles étaient des hommes.
Honnêtement, on commence drôlement à se poser la question de notre côté.
But Ms. Rempel, is it because they're women or the government just doesn't want the rest of the story to get out?
I think it's both, Julie. Thank you.